Hogak's back, baby!
I have heard from players on both sides of this matchup that they really like the Hogak sides of thing. Jason Reid on 5 cards as well. Director Travis Gibson, a big Eldrazi fan, hates the GAC.
Well, if you played against a graveyard-related deck that very easily beat all your graveyard hate cards, you too would hate the GAC.
Muller on the play. Polluted Delta finds a Blood Crypt. He'll fall to 17.
You also have to understand that if Paul Muller is not going to be playing Storm in a Modern tournament, the deck has to be boosted.
Faithless Looting.
It just had Bridge from Below banned out of it, and somehow it just came right back and feels like, you know, almost as good as it was just like a couple of weeks ago.
Somehow the assortment of drawing extra cards and generating creatures for 0 mana found a way to stay playable.
Right, right. It's an anomaly. Never could have seen it coming. You know, it's not like we've had any. You know, Delve's a newer mechanic. I don't know if you know this. Delve has only been in Modern since Hogak was printed, and there are definitely no other cards on the ban list with Delve.
There's no way we could have seen this coming.
You know, it's your fault, really.
No, before that, it was
our fault.
It was just Tombstalker before, right? It was a mechanic from the future.
Yeah.
Death Rattle.
Oh yeah, Death Rattle kill a non-green creature.
Logic Knot.
Ooh yeah, Logic Knot's a nice one.
And you know, Treasure Cruise Dig Through Time, but we don't talk about them.
If you say their names too many times, they come back to haunt you. They're like the Candyman. You heard us say they're like the Candyman. I'm not going to say it a third time.
All right, I wouldn't.
Yeah. I am not that superstitious, but I also don't tempt fate.
I feel that.
All right, looks like we have a turn 2, make 11 power.
Citrus Supplier, Gravecrawler, Hogak.
Is this even a good draw? I don't even know if it's a good draw.
I wouldn't call it a bad one.
No, but there's no Vengevines attacking. Jason Reed's going to be able to go get Tron on turn 3, but he's going to be at 9 life, at least.
2 Tron pieces of maps, all he has here, and he's facing down at least 11 damage. Luckily for him, it's only 11 damage, Reid to 9.
Yeah, but the Eldrazi Tron deck's not really capable of interacting with an 8/8 Trampler all that well. You know, he needs exactly all his dust here in order to clean things up. But it wouldn't be that difficult for Muller to rebuild. All he needs is a zombie, and then he gets to cast multiple Gravecrawlers from the graveyard, and that ultimately will let him cast Hogak from the graveyard too.
He deployed 2 Gravecrawlers post-combat, as we see Reid find that 3rd Tron piece. Either that last card in Muller's hand is a zombie, or he should have held on to one of those.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it looks like his last card's actually a Lightning Axe. So if Jason Reid actually goes Tron, all his dust, which he has it.
That's all his dust.
And now Muller's going to get a trigger here off of the
Citrus Supplier.
Yep.
Now a Vengevine hits the bin.
But all he has in hand currently is that Lightning Axe, so it's not going to do it just yet. But any zombie off the top, and he can go zombie, cast Gravecrawler, get back Vengevine, and attack for 4, or cast Hogak.
It's true he's still alive here, but I'm sticking to that double cast on the Gravecrawler. Really aggressive. It's possible that could cost him this game.
Right, but he also doesn't necessarily know he's playing against Eldrazi Tron. Could have just assumed he's playing against mono-green Tron. And if Jason Reid deploys a Karn Liberated and goes minus on the Hogak, all he has is 3 power on the battlefield.
Right, so he's shocked to flashback of Faithless Looting, and now we see Chalice on 1 for Reid. Followed up by Reality Smasher, Muller to 11, and now those 1-mana zombies, they don't play.
No, but he may be able to cast a couple of them to trigger the Vengevine.
Here's Bloodghast. It does have haste, Reid to 7.
It's kind of like a Reality Smasher.
And that's a vampire, not a zombie. Second Reality Smasher for Reid, attack for 10. And there's Walking Ballista, and Jason Reid steals one from Paul Muller.
Now you have to know that Muller is furious with himself on that one, but he played around normal Tron having a Karn Liberated, didn't play around Eldrazi Tron having an all his dust, and unfortunately for him, that cost him the game. You know, maybe in that spot even you just deploy one of the 2 Gravecrawlers so that if you do get swept by, I don't know, say Oblivion Stone or something like that, you just play a Gravecrawler and play one from the graveyard, and then use those 2 to play Hogak.
Right.
So Really tough one there for Muller. I'm sure he's going to regret it, but he's still got at least one more game to play here. Got to keep his head up.
Muller going to reach for the sideboard. What he has: 4 Leyline of the Void, 3 Thoughtseize, 3 Assassin's Trophies, 2 Force of Vigor, a Plague Engineer, a Nature's Claim, and a Fatal Push.
Yeah, so here if you're Muller, you're going to be looking at ways to deal with Chalice of the Void and ways to deal with Leyline of the Void, which a lot of these Eldrazi Tron decks have adopted. Even though they're colorless, they still play Leyline of the Void because it comes down early and it basically handles every graveyard threat that you can think of. So you're going to be bringing in 3 copies of Assassin's Trophy, almost guaranteed. I think Force of Vigor has a good chance of coming in. And then I don't know if I like Nature's Claim because it does deal with Leyline of the Void, but unfortunately it doesn't really fight through those Chalice of the Void. So I don't really think he'll bring that in, but I wouldn't be surprised if you saw it.
Sideboard for Jason Reid. Remember, Eldrazi Tron got a big upgrade recently in Karn the Great Creator. Most of these cards are artifacts that you grab with your Karn.
Right.
So for actual sideboard cards, it's mostly these 2 copies of
Spatial Contortion.
I keep thinking it's working well. Thank you. It's Spatial Contortion and 3 Leyline of the Void.
Yeah. I believe he's probably going to leave just Tormod's Crypt as far as anti-graveyard stuff is concerned. That way he can go turn 4, cast Karn the Great Creator, minus, go get Tormod's Crypt and play it. But he's going to be bringing in Grafdigger's Cage. He's going to be bringing in 3 copies of Leyline of the Void. And he may even bring in the Walking Ballista. He's going to try to get some of those slower, more clunky cards out of his deck. Dismember, spot removal in general, is not too great in this particular matchup. But other than that, there's not a whole lot that you really want to get out. Chalice of the Void is great. Those large creatures might not be all worthwhile, but you need to close the game somehow, and Reality Smasher is a great way to do exactly that.
Over on StarCityGames.com, we have our sale going, and this week it's 33% off select Mythic Rares through Monday. There you see a foil Karn Liberated from New Phyrexia. That's a nice one to get a deal on.
Yeah, that was a great Commander pickup. I know I was actually working at a card store when New Phyrexia came out. And we actually opened a foil Karn Liberated in one of the first few boxes we opened for the store, and it was our prized possession for a while, and it was only like $30. Now it's gotten up there. So now if you actually get it 33% off, that's a steal. You can find that at go.starcitygames.com/sale. And even if you don't like any of the cards that are pictured here, there's tons of other ones. And if you're not looking for Mythics stuff specifically, check on Monday. We're gonna have a new sale for you starting again.
Always something new coming up on the sale. Players getting ready for game number 2 here. See if he mulligans again. Muller mulliganing to 6. See if he can keep there.
Ye old Mulligan.
The deck, similar to Dredge in a lot of capacities. Dredge is a deck known for mulliganing a lot, though the Hogak deck needs a little bit more material in hand. Yeah,
the Dredge deck gets away with, keeping Faithless Looting and using its graveyard with things like Sinkweed Imp and Life from the Loam. Muller here, though, going to keep his 6, and we're off to the races.
Citrus Supplier off of a Blackcleave Cliffs.
If you're Muller, you're pretty happy that no Leyline of the Void comes down from your opponent's side of things. And you might actually have a turn or 2 of breathing room before you have to face off against any graveyard hate.
The Supplier found a Vengevine. We'll see just how explosive turn 2 can be as Reid set up with Urza's Power Plant into Expedition map.
Now we're doing a quick fetch here. I have to imagine that Muller is going to try to return this Vengevine immediately, and that means he's going to probably be playing 2 creatures this turn. But if that's not the case, he's going to need to come out the gate swinging, because Jason Reid not only has Tron map in play, but he has a second Tron piece in hand, so he's going to have 7 mana on turn 3 at the minimum.
Satyr Wayfinder, so that's not going to be enough to get that Vengevine back this turn, but put some more cards in the graveyard.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Too soon. Hogak shows up to the party.
And that exactly leaves enough cards for Vengevine to stay in the graveyard thanks to the fetch land.
It looks like a Gravecrawler left behind as well. And
this is fine.
Reid to 16.
This is fine. This turn 2 is fine.
Muller doesn't even have lethal next turn.
Yeah,
he only has like 14 there.
15? 15? It's 14.
It's 14.
It's a Stitcher Supplier, not a Gravecrawler. Excuse me.
Yeah, slow your roll. This is. It's only 14.
Wow, he cast a Stitcher Supplier and a Satyr Wayfinder. That's all he's cast this game. And he has 14 power on turn 2 with his opponent already taking 4 damage. That is ludicrous.
This is a 3-mana investment.
Yeah, Hogak. Oh, it costs 7. You got to convoke. Got to have 2 creatures in play.
Walking Ballista on 1 for Jason Reid.
More like a walking ballista.
More like walking Barflista.
Yeah, am I right?
Attack with the creatures. Hogak has trample.
Is that your best butthead impersonation?
Oh, I could do better if we want to go down that rabbit hole.
Cool.
I'm so upset that we're doing this. 9 damage again for Jason Reid.
I mean, what else are we supposed to talk about? This is ridiculous.
You want to do commentary where we do it like we're Beavis and Butthead watching a music video?
Hogak rules. You want to get some nachos?
This deck has zombies.
Oh my God.
Tron online for Jason Reid. And a concession. Going to game 3.
I didn't know I needed this in my life. Honestly, I want to do it now. Like, legitimately, I think we could do a great job. And people would either really love it or turn the channel.
Oh, very much like the actual program.
Yes. Dude, that show actually came out, I think, when I was in 2nd grade. And I remember, like, you know, the bad kid in my class talked about it, told me about it. And then I just started watching it when I was in 2nd grade. It's not really a show for 2nd graders.
No. Well, the thing about it, when you watch it in the 2nd grade, you think the show is very stupid.
Yeah.
I revisited Beavis and Butthead as an adult.
It's really smart, actually.
It's very smart.
Yeah.
Mike Judge is kind of brilliant.
Yeah, I would say his movies are about 30 minutes too long.
Sure.
But other than that, he's got a lot of really nice material. And King of the Hill is an absolute treasure of a TV show. If you haven't watched it, make sure give it a look. It's an oldie, but a real goodie.
Paul Muller, very successful player here on the SCG Tour. Last year, 22 Opens played, only 2 top 8s. 3 top 8s lifetime and a win, though. He did win an Open with Storm. You mentioned before, it is a bad sign that Muller did not show up with his trusty Storm deck.
Yeah, no kidding. On top of that, though, you know, he does have quite a bit of success on Sundays on the SCG Tour, puts up quite a few classic performances. You almost always play Modern. I would classify Muller as a Modern specialist for sure.
Definitely. Handful of classic wins. He also really has chops with standard green decks.
Sure.
Saw him have an unfortunate end to his tournament in the Week 1 Open this season. He started out 10-0 with Team Elementals.
Oh, yeah.
And rattled off a series of 4 consecutive losses.
Yeah, that was unfortunate to watch. We were there for that one. It was tough.
7-0 so far in this tournament, looking to lock up 8-0. Hopefully he can pick up more wins on total on the weekend.
Jason Reid going to be on the play here with his Eldrazi Tron deck. If he can land a Chalice of the Void on turn 2, and Muller doesn't have 1-drop into Satyr, Wayfinder, Hogak, Vengevine, 14 power on the 2nd turn, might have a really good game.
It was an okay start for Muller.
Jason Reid, though, you might think, okay, now I might actually just start mulliganing to Leyline of the Void. Because that start from Muller last game was disgusting. And he didn't do anything. He cast a 1-mana creature and a 2-mana creature, and then suddenly had 14 power. You know who I blame? I blame Tom Ross. I bet Tom Ross developed Hogak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The boss, yeah, he did engineer. He top 8'd a Grand Prix right after the release of the set with the GAC. Chips are falling into place.
Yeah. I bet he also made Scale Up because he's a psychopath.
Oh, yeah. That one makes perfect sense. It's right up his alley. Yeah, Tom Ross, he top 8'd the Open that Ross won with Dredge. That was the Grave Troll on Ban Open, right?
Yes.
And he's just been waiting to get his GAC on.
He's like, this is a very fair and balanced Magic the Gathering card. Paul Muller here actually taking a long time to decide on mulligans. I believe he has to do this before Jason Reid takes a look at his 6er. And it looks like he's going to go ahead and keep. But it must have been a real tough one. I bet he's got a great hand, but has no protection from a ley line, or has a really weak hand with like multiple ley line protection pieces.
That for a long time has been an interesting thing to think about when you mulligan hands with decks that are dredge or dredge adjacent.
I'm going to go give Paul Muller a back rub, man. He looks stressed out. Dude, chill out. It's just magic.
Lean back. Lean back in that Carnox chair.
Give it a ride. Test drive.
We got those chairs for you, Paul.
Yeah. Specifically you. No other reason.
Reid in the tank about this 6.
Yeah, I'm guessing this hand is on the play. It actually looks not too shabby. I see a couple Tron lands and maybe an Expedition map, but he doesn't have Graveyard 8. And I think that that's what he's really, really worried about.
And once you take that first mulligan and you don't find hate and you just kind of have an okay hand, can be a tough keep. We do see him stop at 6, though.
Yep, and he's going to try to win on the back of the power of turn 3 Tron. Let's see what he's got and see if Muller can put the hurt on him.
Power plant map versus Muller fetching. Going to cast the Thoughtseize off of Blood Crypt. He'll end up at 15 at the end of this. Sees a hand of Reality Smasher, Matter Reshaper, Ghost Quarter, and Urza's Tower. So Tron is online turn 3 for Reid.
Not to be a salty guy, but whenever I play Eldrazi Tron when I'm like on Versus Live or testing it out, I don't have turn 3 Tron nearly as much as these people. But I guess that's why they're 7-0 here at the Open in Columbus.
I find that my Eldrazi Tron opponents tend to naturally have Tron without even the map, and also walking Ballista for 6 on turn 3.
Yeah, GG's or a turn 4 Ulamog natural, and they're just playing the 1.
Right.
You know, just cause.
And they just act like it's totally normal.
Oh yeah, had it. Muller going to take the most high impact payoff here with that Reality Smasher, but Jason Reid has quite a few draws here to find a real payoff for that turn 3 natural Tron. Let's see what he can do with it, and we'll see if Paul Muller can actually apply any amount of pressure here.
Pickup for Reid is Eldrazi Temple, so he can choose to deploy the Reshaper or set up Tron next turn.
I like it.
No payoffs in hand just yet, so presumably the Reshaper.
Going to go ahead and deploy here to start putting some pressure on Muller. He did take 5 damage on the first turn with Blood Crypt, Fetch Land, and a Shock Land.
Faithless Looting from Muller.
I wonder how much power he makes this turn.
Can he get some graveyard action? Bloodghast,
at least 2.
Pretty easy avenue to 2. Second discard looks a little bit tougher for him.
Yeah, it looks like he has a really reasonably reactive hand. I saw a Lightning Axe hanging out. You know, normally when you're Faithless Looting, it's either a really easy Faithless Looting or a very hard one. And here we saw him pause on the Bloodghast. He instantaneously put the Bloodghast in the yard and then paused on the second one. So you have to know that his hand is likely not full of these graveyard-related effects.
Satyr Wayfinder was the second card discarded. Blackleaf Cliffs will be land number 2. Bloodghast comes back. Can Muller produce anything else? Insolent Neonate will be cast.
It's a pretty good one. Can filter a card drawn off the top into the graveyard, which is nice. Another Expedition map from Jason Reid is not really what the doctor ordered. He's effectively got all the mana in the world, but really just needs some payoffs. And this Eldrazi Tron deck doesn't have a ton to do with more than 7 mana, other than just make giant walking ballistas.
Yeah, hand really not shaping up. He's going to use that map to go find Urza's Mine. So we'll have Tron next turn, but the only spell in his hand right now is another Expedition map. And we'll find out exactly how much power Muller can add to the battlefield, but that map might be going to find something like Scavenger Grounds.
Yeah, Scavenger Grounds is a nice one to go find next turn, but still can't even activate it next turn after popping the map to go get it.
An attack with the Reshaper. Muller puts Neonate in front. He will activate that before damage, discarding Gravecrawler and drawing a card.
Perhaps was disguising his hand a little bit by discarding the Satyr Wayfinder. Because now if he finds a zombie, he can cast Gravecrawler from the graveyard. And maybe he can find a Vengevine or something off Stitcher Supplier.
There's a Gravecrawler from hand that makes the one in the graveyard good. He'll cast that.
All right, we're doing manual hard mode here Let's see if Muller has a Hogak or something to really put an exclamation point on this turn.
Verdant Catacombs is the land. Attack for 2 with Bloodghast. Reid to 18.
Yeah, and this is why Muller was so slow to keep this hand. It probably had Faithless Looting, but, you know, kind of like a few mishmash graveyard cards, but not really a great payoff. And here he's just giving Reid a ton of time to claw back into it. He still can block with Matter Reshaper. He has Tron here on turn 4. A Chalice to the Void is a pretty decent pickup. It's going to shut down casting those Gravecrawlers and flashing back of the Faithless Looting out of the graveyard, as well as any of the other 1-mana spells in his deck.
So Chalice on 1 on the stack. Muller thinking about fetching in response.
It's probably going to be a Lightning Axe from hand, discarding something to kill the Matter Reshaper, if I had to guess.
Fetch to 14. See if he has to shock here. He does. It's a Blood Crypt. He'll go to 12.
Jason Reid still at a pretty high life total, and if Lightning Axe targets Matter Reshaper, he gets a free card off the top, either a permanent that hits the battlefield or a big spell that he can potentially cast with this mana this turn, because this is main phase 1.
Lightning Axe discards Faithless Looting. Reshaper reshapes into Grafdigger's Cage.
Yeah, that's a good one. Now he just needs to find a way to contain this battlefield from Muller, and needs Muller to not have an answer for said Grafdigger's Cage.
All right, so Tron online for Reid, has Chalice, has Cage, needs to find a threat or a blocker for these creatures. Muller's going to play Verdant Catacombs and then attack for 6.
Yeah, he's going to be looking to fetch up 2 green sources over the next few turns, just in case he draws Vengevine, he wants to be able to cast it. And if I had to guess, he actually doesn't have a Stomping Ground in his deck. I want to confirm that, because I think he would have wanted to fetch Stomping Ground to cast said Lightning Axe, just to make sure he had double green in case he drew Vengevine.
You have no sign of Stomping Ground.
It's not uncommon. You need a red man to cast Lightning Axe, obviously, but Stomping Ground tapping for green and red only means you can't cast those Gravecrawlers or Stitcher Supplier in the early turns when you really need to double spell.
Reid is going to go ahead and find Blast Zone off of that map. Now he could use that to clean up the Gravecrawlers, but it would come at the cost of his Grafdigger's Cage.
Yeah, I don't love that. Maybe looking to knock off the Bloodghast. Another Expedition map, but now it's a dead card.
Blast Zone is the land for turn. As it stands...
Well, sorry, go ahead.
There's a 2-turn clock on the table.
Right, so he can blow up the cage, right? That's not a big deal. The Chalice of the Void shuts down the Gravecrawlers proper, but if Paul Muller is able to find something like a Vengevine to put into the graveyard somehow, maybe Satyr Wayfinder or something like that, casting the Gravecrawlers back from the graveyard, they'll get countered, sure, but could still potentially bring back the Vengevine once that Grafdigger's Cage goes too.
Muller will fetch to 11 end step, finds Overgrown Tomb. That's the first green mana source.
There's no guarantee Muller has Vengevine in hand. That was just a theoretical Vengevine.
The worst kind of Vengevine.
Now, the worst kind of Vengevine is the one in your graveyard getting hit with a surgical extraction.
All right, Muller will attack for 6 again. Does Reid want to use the Blast Zone?
This is tough, because if he does blow it, that means that Muller's going to be able to, well, no, I was going to say he can cast Faithless Looting, but the Chalice checks that too. So maybe this is just a pretty safe Expedition, or Blast Zone, you know?
Yeah, Blast Zone goes off. Reid to 10 from the Bloodghast. Post-combat, Muller will play Verdant Catacombs.
What a draw.
Karn, the great creator for Reid.
Now, if he left a Walking Ballista in his graveyard, or in his sideboard, that could be a really insane hit here.
He'll consult the sideboard.
We'll look with them.
What do we have over here?
You have to imagine some of these cards are in the deck, but cards that are catching my eye. Mystic Forge could allow him to just go crazy here. A Walking Ballista could potentially stifle the Bloodghast attacking for the next few turns. Crucible of Worlds lets him rebuy Blast Zone. And then, of course, you have, you know, Mycosynth Lattice, Ensnaring Bridge, those super-duper lock pieces.
So presumably on this turn, he wants to find something that easily bridges him to lattice next turn.
Yeah, I think Ensnaring Bridge is a good one if he has it, because he can cast it right now. 2 power bigger creatures can no longer attack, and the next turn he just goes against lattice, and I think that locks up the game.
Okay, so Karn's the 3, taking a look at the first grab here. Choose an artifact from outside of the game that will be in your sideboard.
Yeah, there's the bridge. He's thumbing it to the front. Karn the Great Creator is just such an insanely powerful planeswalker.
Yep, the Staring Bridge is the find. He will cast it. The last card in hand is Expedition Map. You could just cast that and counter it with this Chalice.
Yeah, he's going to hold on to it, I guess, in case the Chalice gets busted up here with an Assassin's Trophy or something, but it's negligible regardless.
It seems like there's a lot of pressure for Muller to answer the bridge, too.
Yeah, not only the bridge, but the Karn the Great Creator itself is rather annoying. Simply put, if he lets Jason Reid untap with the next turn, a Microsynth Lattice is coming down, and then Paul Muller will no longer be able to play spells.
Muller will fetch the 10 and set, finds Dryad Arbor. That's a 1 of in the deck.
That's okay. Now that might actually really punish Jason Reid for not playing that Expedition Map, because the Dryad Arbor can attack the Karn the Great Creator for 1 and put it down to 2.
If not for the Ghost Quarter.
Womp womp. Search again.
Muller finds Swamp.
Muller here looking for an Assassin's Trophy, looking for anything to take care of the Ensnaring Bridge or the Karn the Great Creator. Otherwise, it's Coitons. It's Coitons for you.
I like that one. Draw for Muller might be his last one in this match. Just passes the turn.
Yeah, that's should be all she wrote here.
Backup Karn's a draw step for Reid, but not clear that he'll need that one. Though on this turn, he'll want to get rid of that map.
Yeah, for sure. So minus on the Karn, get the Microsynth Lattice, cast it, have 1 floating off the Tron lands, cast the map, let it get countered. But that makes it so you only have 1 card in hand, and the Bloodghast can no longer attack. And then after that, all you have to do is just make sure you only have 1 card in hand at any given time, or hopefully 0 cards at some point, and then Paul Muller will never be able to play another spell.
Karn down to 1. Microsynth Lattice and Walking Ballista both being looked at here. Reid opens up a few options to play a little bit of a longer game with that backup Karn if he wants to try to play around something. Seems relatively safe to just shove on the Lattice, though. He does lock in the Lattice. And here it is, the much maligned combination, Karn the Great Creator and Microsynth Lattice. Every permanent's an artifact, you can't use yours. Cast Expedition Map into Chalice, that's countered, down to 1 card in hand, Bloodghast can no longer attack. Muller's passing, he's going to make Reid actually close the game.
Yeah, I mean, if he just refuses to cast a spell at some point, the Bloodghast could potentially attack.
Thought Not Seer gets a look at a hand of a bunch of 1-mana zombies.
Yeah, Chalice of the Void really putting a hurt on Muller and basically invalidated his entire hand.
And Jason could plus this Karn, or he could just deploy the backup one for his hand. He makes the Microsynth Lattice to a 6/6, attacks Muller to 4. Yeah, that's a way. Well, actually, no, that's under the bridge. You gotta rewind that.
We're gonna fix that for you, but the Ensnaring Bridge does affect both players and all the creatures in both players' control. So the Microsynth Lattice can't attack this turn. It's going to be trivial for Jason Reid to actually win this game. He has a Walking Ballista in the sideboard that he can go get with the Karn in a few turns if he so chooses. Paul Muller effectively can't cast another spell for the rest of the game. As long as Jason Reid has a blocker for the Bloodghast, there's nothing that Muller can do. All of his cards are colorless. All of his lands are artifacts and cannot cast spells.
And Muller's just kind of looking for Reid to somehow get stuck on cards in hand. But I can't really see a way for him to just get flushed with cards for the bridge.
Yeah, me neither. That's bold.
So
but he has the backup card in the Great Creator in hand, so it's not that big of a deal.
Cashes in the first Karn, goes and finds a Walking Ballista, casts his backup Karn. So once again, that artifacts can't be activated Lattice lock is set up. That gave Muller a short window to maybe have an artifact destruction spell.
Yeah, he would have had to have something like Assassin's Trophy right then and there, but you know, maybe Reid perhaps made a mistake but didn't get punished for it. He's going to go ahead and play a second Karn, though, and relock Muller. he's going to start getting all the other pieces together to make sure that he has this 100% down.
Grabs Tormod's Crypt. Casts that Walking Ballista for X equals 3. Plays the Crypt. And so now there's a ton of mana on the table. Tron plus 1 redundant piece. So the Ballista can grow twice every turn as it stands. Reid fires off the Crypt, though Muller really not doing anything with that graveyard. Just draws and passes. Muller can't use his lands. So Ballista grows to 5 on Reid's turn. He'll pass. And now he just has sufficient blockers for that Bloodghast, even if he does get a couple of cards in hand.
Yeah, for sure. Another Walking Ballista off the top. It's not necessary, but
it gets him there a little bit faster.
It does.
As the counters cost 2 mana instead of 4, casting a second copy.
Yeah, and this is going to be a 5/5, 10 mana for Ballista. We got 10 power to shoot at Paul Muller's face. Let's do it. GG's.
There it goes. Jason Reid advances to 8-0 with a 2-1 win over Paul Muller.